Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today we want to present a topic, comparison between Windows Server and Linux Server. Here is my team member. First, me, myself, my name is Nur Ala Kristina binti Muhammad Hatta. Next, we have Nurul Adriana Natasha. Next, we have Nurul Atira. Next, we have Baiduri Janati. And lastly, we have Patin Nabila. Next, I will continue to introduction. A server operating system is the backbone of today's digital infrastructure. It powers everything from web hosting and cloud platform to database and virtualization. Unlike regular desktop system, server OS are optimized for continuous operation, handling large workloads and many users simultaneously. The focus of this study is on two major server platforms, which is Windows Server and Linux Server. Each server has own strengths, features and use case. Next, we proceed to objective. The purpose of this report is to make a true comparison between Windows Server and Linux Server. For the first objective is to compare their system architecture, including how they handle processes, memory and file system. Second, to evaluate their performance, such as CPU, memory usage, and disk input and output. Third, to explore security features like authentication, encryption, and patching. Fourth is to access management tools, including command line and GUI-based interface. 5, to identify use case where each platform access. 6, to analyze their cost and licensing model. Last objective is to make a practical recommendation based on the finding.
So next is core architecture. So Windows Server use a hybrid kernel, combining features of monolithic and microkernels. So it includes a hardware abstraction layer or HAL. So it can work on different types of hardware. It also integrates tools like Active Directory, the Windows Registry, which are important for enterprise environments. So Linux use a monolithic kernel. All core services run in the kernel space, which give better performance. Even though it's monolithic, it's still modular. So admins can add or remove features as needed. That's why Linux is widely used in server, cloud system, and even supercomputer. Next, for the system architecture is process management. So in Windows Server, primitive multitasking is used. It lets the system prioritize important tasks like service or background process. Tools like Task Manager and PowerShell help manage this process easily, including automation. For the Linux use the completely fair scheduler, so which gives each process at a fair share of CPU time. It's managed mainly through the command line using tools like top, hashtop, system mctl, and cron. So this means a lot of control and is great for scripting and automation. Okay, so next for the memory management, Windows use a virtual memory and demand paging, which loads data only when needed. So features like dynamic memory help adjust RAM in virtual machine, and memory compression also improve performance by keeping more data in RAM. So for the Linux handles memory very efficiently. It uses page caching to speed up access and release cache automatically when needed. So if memory runs low, the OM killer will end less important tasks to keep the system running. Using groups, admin can limit memory per process or container. Next, for the file system structure, Windows use NTFS by default, so it supports generally compression and encryption through EFS. So REFS is also available for high availability storage. Drive are labeled using letters like C and D. And for the Linux, use file system like ext4, XFS and BTFS, which support journaling and snapshot, and fast performance. All files are organized under single root directory. It also supports LVM, which let admins resize partition and manage storage more flexibility.
Next, I will present the performance comparison between Windows Server and Linux Server. Performance is an essential factor when choosing an operating system for server deployment. It affects response time, system throughput, resource usage, and scalability. In this section, we will look at three main areas, which is CPU usage, memory efficiency, and input-output. First, let's talk about CPU usage. Windows Server runs many background services by default, such as Windows Update, antivirus, telemetry, and the graphical user interface. Because of this, even when idle, Windows may use 5 to 10% of CPU resources. However, it also provides powerful features like Hyper-V and Trip Priority management to optimize CPU allocation. On the other hand, Linux Server is designed to be lightweight and often runs without a GUI. It uses fewer background processes, which results in much lower CPU usage. This makes Linux ideal for tasks like web hosting and real-time processing. In fact, a benchmark by Foronix in 2022 showed that Linux can use up to 30 to 40% less CPU than Windows when running the same workload. Next, for memory usage, a fresh installation of Windows Server typically uses around 2 to 3 GB of RAM. It includes features like memory compressions and dynamic allocation, especially for virtual machines under Hyper-V. However, this also increases baseline memory usage. Meanwhile, Linux is known for its efficiency. A minimal install can run on less than 600 megabytes of RAM. Linux also uses this caching smartly and includes tools like cgroups to manage memory per process or container. This helps maintain stability under heavy workloads. Finally, let's look at I/O, which is input-output performance. Windows Server uses NTFS or RAID-FS file systems, which include advanced features like journaling and resiliency. But scheduled scans like antivirus tasks can slow down this performance. Newer versions of Windows include storage, Spaces Direct, and SMB Direct for better storage and network access. Linux, in contrast, is often faster in raw I/O operations. File systems like ext4 and XFS allow faster concurrent access, especially for databases and file servers. Linux doesn't run real-time scans, which means less I/O interruption, and it includes powerful tools like IOStat and BLK-Trace to monitor and fine-tune text behavior.
Okay, let's start with the security model used by each operating system. Windows Server uses a centralized security system. This means that everything is managed in one place using something called Active Directory. With this, administrator can control who can log in, what user can access, and what rules apply to whole organization. It's very helpful for big companies because it keeps everything organized and controlled. Group policy is another feature that helps apply rules like password strength and software limits across the many computers. On the other hand, Linux uses a more flexible system. It starts with something called discretionary access control, where the owner of a file decides who can read or change it. But Linux can also be made more secure with extra tools like SE Linux or AppArmor. This tool can block program or user even from doing things, even if they are system administrator. It's like putting safety lock on the certain part of the system. Linux also supports jails and containers that separate programs from each other for better security. Authentication means proving who you are, and authorization means deciding what you're allowed to do. In Windows Server, users usually log in using username and password, but stronger methods like smart cards and multi-factor authentication are also available. Windows also uses Kerberos, a system that helps users log in securely to different services without typing password again and again. All user account and access permission are stored and managed in Active Directory to prevent this user from doing too much. Windows also has something called UAC or User Account Control. It asks for permission before making system changes. So for Linux works differently. It's often used SSH key instead of password, which are safer and harder to guess. It also supports login system like PAM and LDAP. In Linux, each file has permission and control who can read, write, or run it. The only root user can do everything, but instead of logging as a root, Linux uses a sudo command which gives temporary permission to regular customer when needed. This helps to prevent mistake or misuse. Both Windows Server and Linux Server come with tools to help protect the system. In Windows, there's a firewall to block unwanted traffic, and Windows Defender helps stop viruses and malware. If you want to log or protect your data, BitLocker can lock the whole hard drive so no one can read it without a password. Another tool, Credential Guard, keeps your login details safe by isolating them from the rest of the system. Linux also have powerful tools. The firewall system uses programs like IP tables or NF table to control what goes in and what goes out of the system. AppArmor or SE Linux adds strict rules about what programs are allowed to do. For virus checking, you can use tools like ClaimAV. Linux also uses tools like Fail to Ban, which look for repeated fail login attempts and block those users automatically. Another tools, AIDE, can tell you if important system files have been changed without your permission. Keeping the system updated is very important to prevent attack. In Windows Server, updates are managed through Windows Updates. This update includes security patches and new features. Big organizations can use WSUS or SCCM to manage updates on many servers at once. However, sometimes Windows which can interrupt service if you don't plan for it. Linux handle updates using a package manager. For example, Ubuntu uses apt while Red Hat-based system use YAM or DNF. Updates are small, quick, and often don't need a reboot. This is helpful in systems that need to stay online all the time. Update also be automated using cron jobs. This means you can get set the system to check for update and install them at night or during low traffic hours. So lastly, for the security features, let's talk about logging and monitoring, which help us to see what's happening in the system. Windows Server uses Event Viewer to log the system, activity like errors, user login, and software event. For deeper tracking, tools like Sysmon and Audit Policy help keep logs of everything happening in the background. This log can be viewed using Windows Admin Center and can also be sent to a central server for monitoring. Linux also record logs using tools like syslog, Journal, and AuditTD. These logs include system message, user action, and security event. For monitoring, administrators use commands like talk or software like Nagios or Logwatch to get alert. Linux also has tools like Fail to Ban, which watch log file and automatically block IP addresses if someone tries to log in too many times with the wrong password. This helps prevent attacks before they become a problem.
First is Administration Interface and Remote Access. Windows Server is known for its graphical user interface such as Server Manager and Microsoft Admin Center. These tools are centralized and user-friendly, making them ideal for admins who prefer GUI environments. In contrast, Linux Server is mostly controlled through the command line interface. Tools like Webmin or Cockpit offer GUI, but most system administration rely on terminal access for flexibility and speed. For remote access, Windows use RDP and PowerShell remoting, while Linux use SSH, which is lightweight, secure, and ideal for remote CLI operations. Next, we compare command line, utilities, and scripting. Windows Server use PowerShell, which is very powerful and object-based. It allows complex tasks to be automated with scripts, and it's deeply integrated with other Windows services like Active Directory. On the other hand, Linux offers a wide range of CLI tools through bash and shells like ZSH. Common tools include the system CTL for service, journal CTL for logs, and netstart for networking. For automation, Windows use PowerShell scripting and task scheduler, while Linux relies on cron jobs, system timers, and tools like Ansible or Terraform for infrastructure automation. I will discuss about each operating system's range. Like they have their own strength. First is Windows Server is ideal for organizations that use Microsoft products offering simple GUIs and centralized tools. It's easier to learn, especially for beginner or small IT teams. For Linux Server is more powerful in environments where automation, performance, and scripting are their priorities, such as like in cloud computing, development software, or data centers. So what can I conclude? For those who want to choose Windows Server, choose if you need a GUI base, but choose Linux Server for maximum control, lower cost, and strong scripting capabilities. In conclusion, both platforms are capable. The best choice depends on your technical skills and skill level if you are IT.
Next is typical use case. For Windows Server is commonly used in organizations that rely on Microsoft technologies. It works best in enterprise environments that require centralized user management using tools like Active Directory, Group Policy, and Microsoft Exchange. It's also ideal for hosting applications that depend on NET, SQL Server, or SharePoint. In addition, Windows Server is often used for remote desktop services where employees can access virtual desktop from different locations. With its user-friendly graphical interface and official Microsoft support, Windows Server is preferred by companies that want structured and GUI-based management. Next, Linux servers, on the other hand, is known for its flexibility, speed, and lower cost. It's widely used for web hosting using software like Apache or NGINs, often in LAMP or LMP stacks. Additionally, Linux is trusted for running network services such as DNS servers, VPNs, firewalls, and even scientific or high-performance computing. Because it's open source and highly customizable, Linux is especially popular among startups, developers, hosting providers, and universities.
So next, for the cost and licensing. So for the Windows Server is commercial software. So you have to buy the OS license and also pay for client access license or CALs for every user or device. If you use Microsoft service like SQL Server or Exchange, those need separate license too. So this makes the total cost quite high, especially for large organization. So for the Linux, on the other hand, is free and open source. So most versions like Ubuntu or CentOS don't require any license or CALs. So paid support is optional from Red Hat, SUSE, or Canonical, but even then, Linux is still cheap overall. So it's also more flexible for cloud and container deployment.
Next, for summary, it has shown that both Windows Server and Linux Server are capable and powerful platforms, but they differ in several key areas. Windows Server is tightly integrated with the Microsoft ecosystem, making it ideal for business using tools like Active Directory, Group Policy, and Microsoft Exchange. It also provides a user-friendly graphical interface that simplifies system management. Next, for Linux Server, is known for its high performance, flexibility, and cost-effectiveness. Linux Server is go-to choice in web hosting, cloud-native application, and DevOps environment, especially where automation and command line tools are preferred. Lastly, for recommendation, choosing the right server OS depends on your organization needs. So we have Windows Server is recommended if your company use Microsoft product, needs GUI-based administration, or require enterprise level support. And on the other hand, Linux Server is better for the team that prioritize cost efficiency, open source customization, scripting, and cloud performance. So we know that both platforms are strong, but selecting the right one means understanding your infrastructure, your team skill, and your future goals.